Here was the deal, as the giraffe guy explained it. Along with the other 3 humans and representatives from 3 other species, I would go visit the Confederation of United Planets, and there we would be evaluated, though he was vague about the details. If, after a standard year, only a few days shorter than an Earth year, a species was deemed worthy, then the Confederation would initiate the first phase of integration. We would be given incredible new technology that would help us eliminate pollution, hunger, disease, and want.
Dr. Roop has assured us that the nations of Earth would maintain their local sovereignty,
Mrs. Price assured me,
in case you were worried about that.
I couldn't imagine why she thought I would care, but still, good to know.
How you order your local affairs is of little interest to the Confederation, Dr. Roop said. As long as the various countries of your world demonstrate the values and behaviors we consider commensurate with our standards, we will give you the means to create a just and fair world, and if you're able to take advantage of what you are given, then you can advance to full participation in the Confederation. Eventually, you will be provided with the technology for interstellar travel.
Given how ready many people are to abuse power, justice and fairness seemed like a tall order. And if we fail to achieve justice and equality, then what? I asked.
Then nothing, said the Giraffe Man. We shall leave you alone, and shall come check back in a few decades to see if you've worked out your problems. There's no downside to participating. You can only benefit.
This end to disease you mentioned, I said. Is that for real?
Oh yes, Dr. Roop said. We can't eliminate all minor ailments and discomforts, but chronic and deadly diseases would be a thing of the past.
I couldn't help but think about the particular benefit. My mother would be cured. No more ALS. She would not have to turn into a living corpse. I realized that beyond how much I loved all of this for my own sake, or for its own sake, I had a very personal interest in the Confederation of United Planets being impressed with the people of Earth. Why young people? I asked, and more importantly, why me? How of all the kids on Earth, did you come up with my name? Dr. Roop widened his eyes, which I began to suspect might be his species' version of a smile or nod.
Adolescents are particularly well suited for evaluation because they're old enough and sufficiently educated to represent your world and its cultures, but not so fully developed as to be resistant to new ways and technology. Over time, we found that using beings your age, or the species equivalent, for the evaluation gives us the most accurate sense of compatibility.
Okay, I said. I guess I can see that, but why me?
Maybe, Mrs. Price suggested, we should tell you a little more about the other young people the Confederation has selected.
She picked up a remote device, and a screen came down on the far side of the room, and the lights dimmed. She then flicked a few keys on her keyboard, and the images of a kid about my age appeared on the screen. He was dark-skinned and thin, with narrow, focused eyes, like he was concentrating on something. He wore a white dress shirt and a sweater over it that had some kind of symbol on the right breast, which I figured was a private school insignia.
This is Charles Dujong, Mrs. Price said. He's 12, from Uganda, and remarkably gifted in both math and science. He was born in a horribly poor village and orphaned quite young, but by incredible luck his gifts were discovered early by a UN doctor. Consequently, he's been the benefactor of some excellent NGO aid that's allowed him to go to the best schools in his country. Given the political problems in Uganda, this is no small thing.
She hit a few keys on the keyboard, and the picture of an Asian girl flashed onto the screen. She wore a martial arts uniform, and she had her legs firmly planted, her arms up, as if ready to block a punch. It was certainly an action photo, and the girl's short hair was pointed upward as though she'd just landed after jumping.
This is Mi-sun, Park Mi-sun. Despite her youth, she is the reigning female taekwondo champion in South Korea.
We are not a belligerent society, said Dr. Roop,
but we respect the grace and discipline that is to be found in martial arts and from many species and their cultures. Also, we're very fond of Jackie Chan films."
I nodded appreciatively. "I just saw Super Cop," I said.
"That's a good one,"
Dr. Roop agreed. Mrs. Price sighed and clicked to the image of another girl. This one had bronze skin, long black hair, and an oval face with sharp cheekbones, large eyes, and a dazzling smile. Her clothes suggested she was from India or Pakistan or somewhere else in that part of the world.
"And finally, this is Nayana Gelater from Jalandhar, India. You may already know her name."
On the other hand, I might not. Sorry.
"She's ranked the third best chess player in the world, though it's only a matter of time before she's number one," Mrs. Price said. "Are you sure you haven't heard of her? There was a lot of coverage in the media last year when she shot up the ranks after beating Magnus Carlsen."
I shrugged. "I got an Xbox last year, so I was sort of distracted," I said. Mrs. Price clicked a remote, and the screen rose and the lights came back on.
"And there you have it," she said. "If you agree to go, those are the only human beings you'll have contact with for the coming year. Besides me, of course."
A normal person would have smiled after saying this. Mrs. Price tapped her nails on the desk instead. I, meanwhile, was considering the implications of what I had learned. That sinking feeling in my gut was all too familiar. Normally, I'd swallow my pride and keep my head down, but that didn't seem like an option here. I had to say what was on my mind. "Those guys are really impressive," I said. "They all have these amazing skills. Best chess player in the world? I don't have anything like that. Why am I even here?"
"Your confusion is understandable," Dr. Roop said gently. "Let me explain. The selection committee chooses from each world 3 beings they believe have the best chance for success in the Confederation. However, we do not want to bias the process by selecting only particular representatives who match our ideals, and since it is never wise to evaluate a species based on only the extraordinary individuals. Consequently, there's always a 4th being chosen at random, one picked from a somewhat contoured pool, but still more or less a blind choice."
"Somewhat contoured," I said. "What does that mean?"
"In this case, as your species conforms to the quite popular male-female gender split, we wanted to balance things out with a second male," Dr. Roop said. "Also, because yours is the most culturally dominant nation on your world, and it had not yet been represented, we felt it was prudent to pick an American or Canadian. We don't really understand the difference."
"So," I said, "my name was pulled out of a hat of 12-year-old North American boys."
11 to 13, but yes,"
said Dr. Roop. "And there's nothing about me to make anyone, anywhere, think that I have a better chance of success than any other boy my age."
Initially, yes," Mrs. Price said, looking at me through narrowed eyes, as if to suggest she had been steadily revising her estimation downwards.
"And this healing technology you mentioned," I said. "What if I made helping my mother a condition of my going?" Mrs. Price rolled her eyes, as if she was thinking, "Oh, that again."
"I wish I could offer such an incentive," Dr. Roop said. "Were it my choice, I would happily provide your mother with the aid she needed, but our laws preclude any technological or medical assistance to species that haven't gone through the evaluation."
I didn't think there was much to be gained by asking him to violate the Prime Directive. I knew what I had to do, so I stood up and looked at them both. "I'm really flattered," I said. "I can't believe what I've seen and learned here. This is without a doubt the most incredible day of my life. But I'm gonna have to take a pass."
"What?"
cried Mrs. Price.
"Sit down!"
"Sorry," I said. "I'm out. Can somebody drive me home?"